what they're doing. They're running us around.
Okay, for this one, I want to talk about a framing of tech products where you look at what the tech product does, right? The thing that it provides to a person of value, which generally is, to take the difficulty out of a task, right? To make something easier to do. And if you think of that difficulty that it's taking away from the person, the difficulty as a form of energy, right? And we look at the laws of the conservation of energy being that energy can't be created or destroyed. It can just be moved and change form. When a tech product takes the difficulty out of a task, it's important to see that the difficulty hasn't been destroyed. It's been moved somewhere else. And what this really does is it kills magical thinking. And obviously, there's no better product to use this framing on than generative AI, right? Which, has this universally accepted icon of a magic wand, right? That is usually just on a button that you click to generate, right? It's probably one of the most important kinds of magical thinking to kill at the moment, because so much effort from the makers of these products has gone into really trying to maintain this facade of user experience design that really doesn't want anybody to look behind the curtain and to see how these things are achieved. When you click a button to generate an email on your phone or on your computer, the amount of effort and energy that has gone into achieving that is immense, right? We know that training AI is just a ridiculous amount of energy expenditure in the form of electricity. But then there's the actual energy used to deliver on a prompt, to understand a prompt and to parse it and to then, process it and deliver the response. And there's also the energy of, which I think is like one of the biggest numbers, the energy of all of the people of all time who have created and worked and put blood, sweat, and tears into creating things, which were in most cases stolen to train this AI to get it to the point where it is now, right? All of the training data came from human energy. This is all happening behind the scenes when somebody clicks that single button or uses this really human-sounding voice interface to get from the AI what they want to get, or something like what they want to get. And that kind of brings me to the crux of this, right? Where it's important to look at a product as a balance between how much effort is required to how much value is taken, how much value is received from it, right? And you look at that as a ratio, and you see that things that produce a lot of value or very clear value tend to have less of a need for this kind of oversimplification UX design. An example being something like Blender, the 3D modeling software, where the interface is kind of famously complex, right? It's very intimidating, but Blender is a very capable 3D modeling software that people use to make genuinely amazing things, right? So there is this huge amount of obvious value output from Blender. And so all of the energy in creating it is focused on making sure that that value output is as high as possible. And not so much of it has gone into making the interface as simple as possible, yet people still overcome that complexity to get access to the energy output of Blender, right? So you look at the GPT-4o presentation, which was the one that Mira Murati did, and the media really latched onto this one because this one had the most amount of magical appeal. So they had this real human-sounding voice, and they did all of these demos where they were talking to it like a person, right? But that's interface. That's just user experience. All of that was about how they've made it seem easier to get stuff out of it. And that's really a reaction to the inverse of that ratio that I said before, where Blender is the more value you can see in using that thing, the more complexity you're prepared to overcome to access that value. Whereas GPT-4o was a reaction to the inverse, where the less value you see, or the less quality of the output, the less complexity you're prepared to endure to access that. Which can also be looked at in the way of the less effort you put into getting something out of it, the less you're going to scrutinize the quality of what comes out of it. And I think that's really where we are with generative AI. They've done such a good job of user experience design and making it so easy to get at the outputs that it's really difficult. Now, I'm not saying people don't want to. I'm saying it's really difficult for people to look at the outputs and to think, well, I need to put effort into understanding whether this is good or bad. Because they spent nothing to get it, they don't really care about the quality of what comes out. And obviously this is going to be a problem as the prices increase because of all of the energy that goes into creating these things. The more the prices increase, the more people are going to care, right? Because that price increase then puts the energy, moves it onto the person using it, right? It puts it on the other side again. And when that's there, then the ratio comes back into play, and you start thinking about, well, if I'm paying this much, what am I getting out of it?